Good morning, everyone. Goodness, here we are in the last week of the challenge. It's rather sad, like I keep saying, what on earth am I going to do next week? But I've realized what I do have to do next week is to build my my journal, because I have been keeping the pages to one side. Why, I'm not terribly sure, but I need to build my journal because I definitely want to have a keepsake of this event that we all took part in. Okay, so today's prompt for me is old person, and I must be perfectly honest with you. The old person that I know best, the oldest old person, is myself. And I thought, okay, let's talk about me, where I am today, how I got here, and why I feel like I'm definitely younger inside than I look on the outside. So we can start with the fact that I took a couple of, or quite a few, life skill courses, and learned a few things about how to cope. My marriage broke down when my son was a teenager, so I had a child to concern myself with, and I wanted to do everything right because I'm a Virgo, and Virgos always do everything right. So yes, that was how I got to where I am. Well, I started getting to where I am. And as time moved on, I learnt things, I followed little routes, and at the end of the day, I was just extremely, extremely lucky that things turned out the way they did. But we'll go that way very shortly. Let's have a look at what I've done on my page. I've used a 2-page spread for this one, the first one in my journal. But how I've done it is I've done a little sketch of me in my favorite clothes, kind of. I don't look anything like that, but basically it's a grey-haired person in some wacky patchwork dungarees and big boots, which is one of my favorite outfits. I actually have a pair of dungarees like that, and my boots, though, are not brown, they're black. But for the sake of the art, the brown ones are easier to see. Okay, so basically what we've got here is it's a motivation page. What else could it be? It says dress for you, not for them. In other words, you've reached the age where you don't need to worry about what other people think about you. All that matters is what you think about you. So yes, that's my attitude, and I'm sticking to it. The other thing, well, one of the most important, we have to put this one first. I'm often mistaken for an adult because of my age. I always always like to say growing old is inevitable. Growing up is an option. And I decided not to grow up. So adulting is not really for me. Okay, keep your brain active. Learn something new every day. I do crossword puzzles. I used to buy a magazine that had crosswords, quite a few puzzles, sort of word puzzles in it, but it became quite expensive, and the rest of the magazine was a complete waste of paper. So what I've started doing now is there's a seasonal puzzle book that comes out 4 times a year, and hundreds of puzzles in there, different kinds of puzzles, word puzzles, crossword puzzles, code breakers, one called Code Breakers, which is one of my favorites, that sort of thing. So I do quite a lot of puzzles. I'm just trying to think. It's at least once a day I'll sit and do a puzzle, and it definitely does keep my brain active. Then this is a very wise piece of advice. Start a gratitude journal, and every evening find 10 reasons to be grateful for your day. I started that many, many years ago, and I run it for a while, and then I forget, and then I go back to it, and then I forget. But I must be honest, it works extremely well, because you find yourself actually thinking, you hit an obstacle sometime during your day, and you think, oh no, now I'm going to be late for work because of the traffic, or something to that effect. And after starting the gratitude journal, I would think, okay, so what can I find to be grateful about this situation? Because I'm going to need 10 things to be grateful for at the end of the day. And it works like a charm, because next minute you're not worrying about the traffic. You're busy wondering what's good about this, So yeah, it helps to change your attitude quite a lot. And you do find an awful lot of positivity coming into your life with a gratitude journal. Right, where are we now? Ah, this one. We resent losing our independence. We get very upset if we realize that we can't carry 4 packets of groceries in one trip, or we're exhausted walking from the supermarket through the car park to the vehicle, and all of this makes you very unhappy, because now you've got to ask somebody for help, or maybe you don't know who you can ask for help, and it's quite an attitude change, and you might find you need to work on it a bit. I know I was fiercely independent, so this was a particularly hard thing for me to deal with. But embrace the fact that you're aging. Accept that it is the natural order of things, and enjoy it. When youngsters open a door for you or offer to carry your parcels, you've earned it. And just feeling that makes it easier. You can just say to yourself, because strangely enough, when you're not thinking, oh, how am I going to be able to cope? How am I going to be able to carry this? You'll find that you can actually do it quite well. Or you find a way of transporting it. So, yes, it does help. Right, then, this is, as you can see, I made a pocket, and I've made 2 tags, but I think people call them clusters. When you put layers of different papers and things, one on top of the other. I'm quite proud of this one. Well, let's start with the expression, because I just love this. When I get old, they're never going to say, what a sweet old lady. They're going to say, what on earth is she up to now? To be honest with you, I often see my son and my son-in-law from time to time giving me that look, and that's exactly what they're thinking. Yeah, so what I've got here is I've got the inevitable brown paper. I've got some scraps of the paper that I mix my paints on. I think we've had bits of this pop up before. And a little piece of old lace, just to edge the 2 sides there. And of course the lovely meme. This, I must acknowledge, comes from Wild Woman Sisterhood, their Facebook page. I think it's rather gorgeous. And then on the back of this one is space for writing, and I decided to put something on here that was part of the whole theme of the page, and it just might add, work as a little bit of a motivator for me sometime in the future. What kind of journals would you need to help create the well-being you deserve? And I decided that I would need a gratitude journal, a self-care journal, which would cover health and fitness. So, for example, I could start looking up recipes for healthy meals, or making a shopping list of lots of fruit and veggies, that sort of thing. In a self-care journal, writing down some exercises that I should do daily, perhaps a little bit of, a manicure once a week, perhaps give myself a manicure once a week, or that kind of thing. So that would be a self-care one, I would say. Then an activities journal, which is more or less like a to-do list, I would say. And that's always very handy. I wouldn't see myself actually having 3 journals, because I would soon lose interest in scratching around to find them, to write in them. I would probably combine these 3 things into a journal for myself. So that's that one. Let's put that back. Speaking of self-care, perhaps I should tell you here that I went through quite a bad patch, probably starting about 15 years ago, where I started getting back problems. I'd had a couple of falls, one as a child, and then I was in a car accident, which did cause a bit of back issues. And I found that my back was starting to give me trouble. I didn't have medical aid, we call it here. I think medical insurance in America. National health elsewhere. Anyway, I had to kind of self-diagnose and self-treat. So I figured out the best way to lie in my bed to help the pain. I used to buy over-the-counter medication, mostly herbal, or the healthy options, not heavier drugs, because I really couldn't afford to go to a doctor, and it helped. What I was doing did help. But it turns out later on in life I discovered that it wasn't what I should have been doing. However, what did happen was, as I got older, I was exercising less because my back was painful, and I found that if I sat a lot, I didn't suffer as much. And, this kind of thing, all happily carrying on and doing all the things that I should have not been doing, and becoming more and more unfit, and having weaker and weaker muscles because of the fact that this is what I was doing. And then, I suppose, not long after the COVID lockdown year, which was 2020, I think, if I remember correctly, I had balance issues, and I started falling. I'd trip and fall over and that sort of thing, and I had an arthritic knee, so getting up was always an issue. And I was living alone at the time, so I was always scared of ending up on the floor for hours and nobody knowing. And so I was carrying on, doing less and less, just in case. And long story short, I moved in with my children. They bought themselves a lovely home with a granny flat attached that I moved into, and my daughter took me through their house, which was it is a double story, and I tripped coming down the stairs, and I fell from going up the stairs, the first landing, which was possibly 7 or 8 stairs. I tripped and fell because the stairs were uneven, and I'd forgotten. They'd warned me, watch the step, it's a bit deep. And I fell, and I hit the side of my face on the floor. I actually, I didn't dislocate a shoulder, but, there was a fairly serious shoulder injury. And black and blue face. I mean, what a picture. Anyway, that was the first problem. And I went to a physiotherapist because I said to my daughter, I'm not going to a doctor, it costs too much. Can't really go for x-rays unless you're sent by someone. So let's see a physiotherapist, and if he or she thinks I need x-rays, then she can authorize it. So she found me a physiotherapist, and I went to see her, and she diagnosed what was wrong. It was I've forgotten the word, something like a torn ligament. Anyway, there were 4 of them on your shoulder, and one of them had pulled off the bone. So without an operation, that couldn't go back, and it may affect my arm, which was my left arm. And I said, I'm not having operations. So, let's do some physio. And it worked. It worked. She gave me simple exercises to do. I did them absolutely religiously without fail. And I have the full use of my arm. So it worked. Then I sat down on my typist chair in front of my computer one day, and it's one of those typist chairs on wheels. And as I sat down, the chair shot backwards, and I landed on my butt on the floor. And that resulted in me being in absolute agony. I went to the physiotherapist that we went to was no longer in the country, and my daughter found me somebody else who was actually closer. And I went to see her, the most amazing woman, an Indian lady, who performed a miracle as far as I'm concerned. She does a modality called craniosacral therapy as well as physiotherapy, and she had a look at me, suggested we have x-rays done. So I did have x-rays done. The bottom 3 bones of my spine had been knocked sideways, and people thought I should probably have to have an operation, which I refused point blank to consider. And this lovely lady, whose name is Nisha Galal, hi Nisha, she did craniosacral therapy on me, and I went to her for a year. Now, in that year, the x-rays that I had done on my back showed that I had fairly bad scoliosis caused by walking in a strange way and not sleeping in the right position, etc., over the last few years. And the vertebrae knocked out. Anyway, this craniosacral therapy turned out to be the most amazing therapy. Google it if you're interested in knowing more, because it's absolutely miraculous. And what happened to me was, after a year, it was 9 months of going to her on a regular basis for physio, which was the craniosacral therapy, my back was straight. I was walking upright instead of bent almost double. I was my whole face changed. I was pain-free. It was, as I say, miraculous. And that has made me so grateful for everything and made me actually quite adventurous. I still do my exercises, not as often as I should, but I still do them. And my life has become fantastic. And in all that time, in all that stuff, I found out about art journaling and mixed media art, and how it was a good therapy for helping to cope with pain and so on. So that's where I started, was watching other people's videos and slowly accumulating a few things and practicing a little bit and so on and so forth, until March this year, when I decided time to learn something new. Let's go to the University of YouTube and find out how to open a channel. And that's how it happened, and that's where I went, folks. So yes, it was pretty amazing. Okay, now I can't remember. Did I look at this one and tell you what was on the back? No, I didn't. Okay. So that was the story of my life, in a nutshell. But people, I'm not saying that you can all get away from chronic pain and so on, but you can change your attitude to it. A lot of you are doing the most amazing things and dealing with the most unbelievable discomfort, and you have my absolute admiration. And if what I've told you helps you a bit, then I'm happy, because I would love other people to know how I've managed. Anyway, let's do this final tag. And on the back of this tag, I decided to put down things to be grateful for. So, today I am grateful for JJJC2025, which is our challenge. Number 2, all the new friends I have made via this challenge. Number 3, increasing my self-confidence art-wise. Number 4, starting to sketch again. I'm so grateful for that, because I haven't sketched for years. And, sketching is like writing. If you don't do it, you've got to start practicing to get it right again. Anyway, I'm very happy about that one. And then the mental stimulation that I get from the prompts. I have to sit down and think about it and come up with an idea and that sort of thing. And that's wonderful. That's why I'm so happy. Okay, folks, so that was this page. I hope I didn't bore you to death with all my stories. And I hope I haven't offended anybody with what I've said. But that's all that's going on to this particular video, because I think some people wouldn't have worried to watch it because it wouldn't have interested them. So then they may have lost out on seeing some more pages. So for now, let's just say bye-bye and stay safe, stay warm, stay well, and bye-bye.